Hola, hola. My name is Ricardo. I am the host of the Lucha Jovers podcast here in the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. We are a Spanish speaking show dedicated to discussing and analyzing pro wrestling from all across the world. From AW to CMLL, we talk about American wrestling, Japanese wrestling, and of course, Lucha Libre. If something big happened in the pro wrestling world, we will talk about it. So if you know Spanish or have a friend that knows Spanish or want to practice your lucha libre pronunciations, go listen to the Lucha Jovers podcast right here in the Voices of Wrestling podcast network. Nos vemos por ahí.
Hi, I'm Case Lowe, co-host of the Open the Voice Gate podcast. The one question I'm constantly asked when it comes to Dragon Gate is how do I get into the promotion? Well, stop asking and start listening to the Open the Voice Gate podcast, released every Wednesday on the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. For exclusive news and show reviews, look no further than the leader in Dragon Gate coverage, Open the Voice Gate.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling podcasting network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rains on the track when we unite and spit. This is an A game, better bring your A game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you work your A game. A made no rains on the track when we unite.
You know, it's the Mike and JD show, and I'm your host, Mike Gilbert, and I'm joined as always by JD by God Oliva. How you doing, JD?
I think it's my headphones. After listening to that intro, we were troubleshooting some mic issues, and we were trying to figure out what's wrong with Mike's microphone. And now that we're listening to everything, I heard the intro. I think it's my headphones that's a problem. So figure that out later.
I was legit having tech issues. Like for the last 15 minutes, I had to restart my computer twice because it was not reading my microphone. So when you said that my microphone sounded like shit, I believed you because I was like, oh shit. So yeah, I legit thought that something was going on here. So hey, everybody, welcome to the Mike and JD show right here on the Voices of Wrestling Network and the Mike and JD show YouTube channel. Also, you can find us on Patreon, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to get some more premium content, head to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. Where we also have Overtime, we have Brace for Impact, and the JD Oliva Project. Hey, JD, why don't you tell them what you put on the Patreon just this week on for the JD Oliva Project? I thought it was really cool. It's a great show.
Joe's right. We were on the wrong side. So I did a thing this week. I'm a writer. I love horror books and I love horror movies. So I did a thing previewing recommending my top 10 horror films. Right. And I didn't just go, these are my favorite movies. Like I kind of broke it down to okay, ghost story. Okay. Werewolf movie. Okay. Vampire story, that kind of, excuse me, stuff. So I put that on our thing and our Patreon went a little above and beyond. I thought with the editing might have gotten us in a little bit of trouble. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out.
We might have dodged a bullet there.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll figure that out later. But I think it came out real fun. That's the kind of stuff I like to do on the Patreon. It'd be a little different. So yeah, that's a lot right now for everyone that subscribes to the Patreon. If you want to check out for Halloween, and I gave a little Silver Shamrock jingle at the beginning for my Halloween 3 fans.
Yeah, that was
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was really cool, man, and it brought back some memories, and it also made me realize that I've never seen Monster Squad.
You've never seen the Monster Squad?
Never seen it. But
Get
I
out of
did.
Here.
It is streaming, and I have it in my queue. It's on Paramount Plus or Showtime, whatever. I think Paramount Plus and Showtime are the same now. Yeah.
Oh.
Well,
right.
whenever I clicked on it, it said it's Showtime, but it's the same app now.
Well, it's funny because that's what's inspired me. That's I got a colic that's driving me crazy. I just realized it as we sat down. That is what inspired me to do this. Is that my kid and I watched Monster Squad last Saturday because we love that movie. It's one of our favorite Halloween things, and it kind of inspired me. Hey, I should just do something about Halloween movies. So it's super ironic that you say you've never seen the Monster Squad. I thought all children from the 80s had seen that movie growing up.
No, I guess I just missed, but I have been getting into the Halloween mood, and I actually watched Evil Dead the new Evil Dead Rising, I think is what it's called, and it is supposedly a part of the Evil Dead series, but it really didn't seem like it was connected at all to the originals from the 80s. It was more connected to the remake that happened a few years ago. But that was like, I'm not like an Evil Dead guy. I do like it, but I don't have like an emotional connection to that series. So whenever I realized it was not, it had nothing to do with the original, it was like completely different than what they do there. I was fine with it, but I talked to you about it. You weren't so happy with it.
No, so here's my thought. Is Bruce Campbell in it?
No,
Did Sam Raimi direct it?
no.
Are there a minimum of 12 Three Stooges references in the movie?
I don't think there's a single Three Stooges reference.
Then it's not the Evil Dead. What's the point? Just make a zombie movie, right?
It,
If you're
well,
not
it was
gonna,
like
if
it
you're
was a
not going to
demon
make an Evil Dead-
possession.
but if
Yeah,
but that's not the Evil Dead. Like that's
I-
The Exorcist, which just got remade last week for the 15th time poorly. And like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, why just like if you're not going to embrace what makes Evil Dead, like why bother? Like, why bother doing that? Like that was the last remake that came out like 10, 12 years ago. They like remade it with a girl, and it was like, oh, it's scary. I'm like, well, Evil Dead's not supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be silly. Like it's not like it's like, oh, you people missed the fucking point. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know, man. It frustrates me.
they should have just called it something different, so that way,
Yeah.
so that way, like the horror fans would embrace it. But because they said Evil Dead, the horror fans, the hardcores, like a JD Oliva, decided not to give it a shot. But I just watched it because I was like, I don't care.
Well, that's the problem. Is like, they can't sell. That's the problem with Hollywood. Actually, it's starting to turn this year. This year is the when the worm finally started turning. Like, you couldn't sell anything unless it was connected to a franchise of something, right?
Yeah.
And now it's starting to change. But you had to attach Evil Dead. You couldn't just call it, the Spooky Dead or something like that. You had to try to tap into the nostalgia to sell. Now people are like, I don't give a fuck about nostalgia anymore. It's finally happening.
Yeah, I got you. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for joining us. Thank you, Joe and Josiah that's in the chat. Thank you to all the people that are watching right now. So this is going to be a live call-in show, and I'm going to be putting the link here in the chat, and I'll tweet the link out too here in a little bit. But JD and I are going to just cover some of the top stories. Well, there's nothing really too crazy happening in pro wrestling right now, but there's a lot of cool stuff happening, and I do have some notes here to go over. And I think for our show, the top story that we should cover, considering we had an Impact podcast for a long time, and I still cover Impact every week, is our buddy Backup Hangman, Ibu himself of Wrestle Purists, got the Impact fan nation stirring with a little comment that he made, quote tweeting one Sean Ross Sapp. Sean Ross Sapp was replying to one of his followers, saying that, basically saying that, CM Punk going to Impact Wrestling isn't like the craziest thing in the world. And then Ibu then quote tweeted him and said that Impact actually made an offer to CM Punk. And now George Iceman of Iceman's Intel, he typically gives out worked scoops on YouTube for Impact, and he says, kind of like vaguely says stuff and all this and that. So he does that, and he dropped a little quote scoop, right? Because this is being fed to him by the company. He works for the company, and it's on Impact Television. That there's going to be a surprise for Bound for Glory. The tickets have been bought. Transportation has been secured, and hotel reservations have been made. And now people, namely like one of the GIF guys on Twitter, was created a video of it and stated thinking that maybe it's possibly CM Punk. JD, can you explain why that sounds asinine that they would buy CM Punk plane tickets to Bound for Glory?
Where's Bound for Glory this weekend, Mike?
Cicero, Illinois.
Cicero, Illinois. That would be 4 miles west of the city of Chicago. Do you know where CM Punk lives?
Chicago.
The north side. So technically, he could drive to O'Hare and catch a flight to Midway, which is a 30-mile drive, and mainly just 30 miles because of traffic. So you'd be flying from the north side to the south side, which would be stupid. So
yeah,
but to be fair, if they bought CM Punk plane tickets, would that not be the most TNA Impact move of all time?
I think that would be legendary, and it would throw people off the scent maybe, because like Now somebody is there's definitely going to be a surprise at Bound for Glory, and
Yeah.
they typically bring in somebody that hasn't been on the show for a while. Like last year, it was Bully Ray. One year it was James Storm. One year it was the Kiss Demon of all people.
I recall.
That was that we thought it was going to be Braun Strowman that year, and it turns out it was the fucking Kiss Demon.
And we had a
that they
debate
brought
over
in.
whether or not it was Dale Torborg, and it was.
Yeah. Well, we thought maybe it was like an Ultimate Warrior situation where he died and they just created a new one.
A renegade, if you will.
Yeah. 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 So, but I'm trying to rack my brain as to exactly who it could be, and I just can't think of anybody right now that's like a complete free agent other than CM Punk that could be a surprise for Bound for Glory.
I got nothing, to be honest with you, unless they're bringing in someone from Japan. But they're bringing in the big, like Ospreay. Like if you're bringing in Okada and you don't say anything, that would be kind of dumb. Like I have zero clue who they're bringing in for this. I really don't. Like it's kind of stumped me.
Yeah, it stumped me too. There has been look.
Oh,
so we got some folks in the chat. Go ahead, JD. You're gonna click it. Yeah. So Joseph saying the Zigman. I think he's on a 90-day no compete, so I don't think that would be him. Lucha Doncic, you hookers better wish me a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Lucha. Thank you for your joke that I stole earlier and posted on Twitter. JD thought it was his joke, but turns out it was Lucha's. Turns out I was stealing Lucha's joke.
Steal my jokes all the time.
So, JD, you have not talked about this publicly because you no longer have an Impact podcast, so we haven't brought it up on this show.
This is true.
What do you think about CM Punk possibly going to Impact now that he's basically been turned down by WWE and he got shit canned by AEW? What options does he have?
Hold on. Josiah, leave the show.
Josiah, you can exit. No, I'm just kidding.
Go back to Canada. I think it could be game-changing business for Impact Wrestling. I really do. Yeah. I think that CM Punk has enough of a following. Like, not all of his fans would jump on to watch Impact, but I bet enough of them would to make a significant impact in Impact ratings for a brief time. Yeah. I think it could do dynamite business for their shows, right? Yeah. Like when they go do their TV tapings, I think it could be phenomenal. I don't think CM Punk, his ego could take it.
And that's where I'm at because we talked on this show about people wondering maybe CM Punk needs money. There's some rumors out there, nothing that's really verified that he had to buy his contract out with AEW, but there's nothing really solid that's out there. So I don't know if any of that nonsense is true. I think he could find his way to make a pretty good living just even outside of wrestling. He was doing Hollywood stuff right now, but he'd have to take a non-union gig because the strike is still going, as far as I know. So I don't know what he could do there. I don't think he's going to go back to fighting because he can't fight. And I don't really think that the CFFC, the Cage Fury Fighting Championships, that's an independent MMA promotion that's on UFC Fight Pass. I don't think they're paying all that well to bring him in. I think he just does that as a labor of love. So I don't know what other options he could have other than just slinging his t-shirts on PWTs.
I wonder if the last year has impacted his pro wrestling tees money, right? Because there's people, and I know our boss in the flagship talks about this all the time, that people are just unreasonable when you talk about Punk. Like if you're not, I hate CM Punk, there's people that get mad. But then if you're not like CM Punk walks on water and turns it into non-alcoholic wine because it's CM Punk and he's straight edge, like then they hate you too. Like he's just, that can't be good for a guy who sells t-shirts, right?
Yeah. Well, but when you're polarizing, and I would say that's a pretty good word for him, the people that really, really hardcore support you will probably buy every t-shirt that you have, most a lot of them. And I think he has enough of those people that actually are strongly behind him. Now, another promotion we could think of is probably New Japan. I don't think you would get big time money from them because, look, there's a reason why Jay White ain't working there anymore. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why Will Ospreay is very likely to leave at the end of the year. Is because their business is down. I don't think they're really paying top dollar for a lot of people. Now he could bring in some subscriptions like Jericho did a few years ago. But that would be a short-term gain for a long-term cost. I don't know that it would be worth it in the long run for them.
CM Punk's gotten hurt in every big match he's done since coming back, with the exception of the Joe match. I don't think his body could handle the New Japan schedule. Like, you bring him in for a Wrestle Kingdom or something like that.
Yeah.
Two, I think we overvalue what the name CM Punk would mean in Japan. Like,
Mhm.
New Japan, here's the thing, and this might hurt WWE fans' feelings to hear this. New Japan fans, Japanese wrestling fans, care about Japanese wrestling. Like, what goes on here, unless you're talking like a superstar, means very little. So I don't know if
Yeah.
CM Punk would. I don't know if CM Punk's credentials would carry over to Japan in quite the way Chris Jericho's did, because Chris Jericho held some, and there was a lot of American fans that jumped in. They weren't Japanese
Yeah.
fans that were jumping in for the New Japan World subscriptions with that. It was us. It was the US. It was the Western fans. So
It was me. I
it was
bought
me
one
too,
when
to be honest.
I bought one when the Jericho Omega match was announced. I bought a subscription. So
Yeah, I don't know about this one, man. I mean, I don't think that I'm pretty sure that wouldn't happen. But you know who else has got a show? Perhaps Billy Corrigan and the CW will land
Yeah.
CM Punk. By the way, who said first that Billy Corrigan's NWA would land on the CW? I believe you heard that first on this show,
Yes.
maybe a year ago. We
when
speculated that.
when Brad Schwartz, the former executive for Pop TV, went to the CW, JD and I, we did a brace for Impact, and we, Impact getting a new TV deal always does pretty good on YouTube, so we did one of those videos, and
We did one of those.
yeah, we did one of those videos, and then we kind of basically said this probably not going to happen, and then JD was the one that said NWA is more likely to get it because of his connection with Brad Schwartz, because Billy Corgan was in charge of Impact. Now Dixie Carter was the owner still, but Billy Corgan was kind of the president of Impact. Yeah, he was the president of Impact during that time, and he was one of the creative forces behind it. Him and Dave Lagana, I believe, before they left to go do the NWA stuff. So, so we got that on tap for tonight. So here, let me go ahead. I am going to invite some folks here in the chat.
Sweet. Did you post the link, by the way, on Twitter or something? I'd like to share that too.
I did not yet. So if you want to go ahead and throw the invite out there. So guys, so that's the StreamYard link. You can just click that link with your phone. If you don't want to be on video, that's okay. Just don't accept the video, and you can just be audio only. Call into the show. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about at any point in time. You feel free to interrupt us. So we got CM Punk, Bound for Glory, Sting's Farewell Tour, Vince is out of creative, Roman Reigns for the Hall of Fame. We got Adam Cole and Roderick Strong, NWA with CW, and whatever else you guys want to talk about. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. So yeah, feel free to jump in at any moment. I'm going to go ahead and tweet out the link right now.
I just did.
Okay. So
I should have tagged a bunch of people, but I did not.
It's okay. It's okay. Join us now. There we go. So I posted the StreamYard link. So if anybody wants to jump in, if not, JD and I will just continue to do our show. But we thought we'd go ahead and bring in the audience on this episode. We've never done a call-in show before. Although we've had plenty of guests, we've never actually just put the link out there and said, just come join the show at any
Not
point
on purpose. Remember Brady jumped in one time and we were like, how'd you do this? And we turned out we screwed up.
Yeah, JD sent the wrong link out there. He's supposed to send the live YouTube link, and he sent out the invite link so that way everybody could get in. So feel free to click the link, and then JD and I are just going to keep on going. Interrupt us at any moment. Just have your say on the show. So yeah, we got NWA on CW. Here's the thing I think about that, and I want to be excited for NWA, and actually I'm happy for NWA. I don't really find that to be a very good show. But I have not watched since EC3 has taken over as the NWA champion, because I'm not watching a show where fucking Tyrus is the world heavyweight champion. I'm just not going to do it. Not because of his politics, but because he sucks, right? Like that, it was that bad. It was like watching Andre the Giant in 1992, watching that fat lumbering piece of shit fall around the ring. I just didn't want to watch it, right? So I never watched it with Tyrus, but EC3 is now the champion. And maybe I'll give it a shot on CW. You think you'll give it a shot?
Oh, we have to give it a shot, just for at least for the purposes of the podcast. Now, I'm wondering what the hours are, because there's nothing that says that. I saw some tweets like, "Oh, they're coming for AEW's number 2." It's like, do you know if you look at those CW numbers, man, they're not that great. Now I wonder what the time slot's going to be, right?
Yeah,
like, and it's 2 shows. It's a reality show and a wrestling show, which is going to be kind of weird to have a show like this is our show. And now this is us telling you our show is bullshit.
Yeah.
right? Weird.
Yeah.
But I mean,
So
are these guaranteed prime time, or is this going to be like Saturday afternoons, or
I
what?
don't know, because they have live golf on Saturday afternoon. So
They do have live
we
golf.
had
Oh,
Josiah. I'm going to bring you on in just a second. I'm just going to make a point real quick, and then I'll bring Josiah on. Is it going to be in prime time during the week? Is it going to be on the weekend? But I think the most important question is how much money are they getting? And are they going to be able to upgrade their production and pay talent full time and be secure NWA? I don't see that happening because CW doesn't really pay much for TV shows. They're doing kind of like reality shows and foreign shows and stuff like that. They're not really doing a lot of big time first run programming.
yeah. This is not your father's CW or your
No.
older brother's CW, I guess. Here's the thing: are they getting anything?
Yeah. And Joe in the chat. Joe, why don't you hop on the show with us? Joe in the chat said maybe an ad revenue split, and I can see that
I
happening.
could see that.
Hey, we got Josiah, man. Josiah, how you doing, man? What do you want to talk about?
I'm doing all right. I can give my thoughts on the NWA thing since I used to cover that show from the very beginning with the Observer site.
Poor unfortunate soul. Continue.
The first year was good.
Yeah, early days of NWA was good with
That's true.
Cornette on commentary, and and then he got shit canned. And they had say what you want, Dave Lagana, he absolutely does not belong in the wrestling business anymore for the stuff that he did. But when he was the creative force behind that show, it was pretty good. And I thought Nick Aldis was the hell of a world champion.
Well, look at the talent they had there. Eli Drake, who's now LA Knight, one of the biggest stars in the game. They had Ricky Starks. They had Eddie Kingston.
Yeah,
they had, and Aldis was doing. I mean, they had talent. Colt Cabana, they had talent. It was just
they had the relationship with Ring of Honor as well.
Yeah,
because
they did the pay-per-view with Cody Rhodes from Nashville that I remember, and I really liked that match. That was the rematch from All In.
That was the Asylum in the old Asylum.
Yeah.
For the TV deal to work, I would think that they'd have to have some sort of revenue share agreement with the CW because, I personally, if it's just we're paying your production like the early AEW was, this is probably not going to do much for the NWA. At their current rate, they're not financially sustainable in any way, and probably never have been.
Define sustainable though. I mean, what's Billy really spending on that? I mean, he's an independently wealthy guy, and they don't spend a lot of money. They run pretty lean. I don't think that I don't think they're deficit spending. If they are, it's enough that Billy can just go, I'm having fun.
That is true because the shows they produce and the wrestlers they hire would not command a very high wage bill, I would suppose. Unless you have a few guys that are on more full-time deals, like the ones who are there all the time, like a Camille or something like that. But even then, it wouldn't be major money or anything like that. I you know what, I would venture a guess that the folks in MLW are being paid better for sure, even though they're a similar level of company in terms of popularity. But yeah, I gotta say, I was actually really surprised when I heard that this deal was happening, and I actually got an email from their PR guy today because I'm still on that list from when I was covering the show, and he said, "Until you hear any official announcement from me, it's not official."
Yeah, it could be one of those things where they put the cart before the horse because MLW famously did that by leaking information about them getting a TV deal. Now they never explicitly said Tubi, but there were rumors out there that it was Tubi, and then right when we're supposed to get the announcement, the whole thing just falls through.
Yes,
and I that is absolutely a possibility, and maybe they should not count their chickens before it's hatched.
It's true. Although, with all that in mind, with the NWA, I gotta say, just from Dynamite last night, man, Sting is the best. That's really all that can be said.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so when we want to talk about Sting, he's getting ready to do his farewell tour. His final match is going to be at Revolution in February. Is it February or March? It's one of those.
They haven't announced it. It's usually late March or early March, late February, something like that.
Yeah. All right. So JD, I'll toss it to you first. Who do you think? And I think I already know what the answer is going to be. But who do you think should be his final opponent?
Darby Allin.
Yeah, Darby. Right. I mean, no brainer.
It's an absolute no brainer, and Darby goes over, of course.
Yes, in the end. But I still hope, and this might be just my old guy, kind of showing through. I want to see Chris Jericho versus Sting one time before Sting hangs him up. I think that's
Oh,
like
I
the
think you
one.
will.
I think that's the one Legends match we haven't got. I don't know whether we'll get Edge versus Sting. Maybe we'll have them teaming up at some point against Christian Cage's like army or whatever they're calling it, but the family. But I'd like to see Jericho versus Sting. I think that's something we need to have.
I agree. I think you will see it too. I mean, we've got 4 months, 5 months, something like that, a build before
Yeah.
Sting goes out. So I imagine you're going to see some if I were them, I would lean into this and I would have Sting on just about every TV show for the next few months and really build up that final match. Like Dave was talking about the Muto Bye Bye show and how great a show that was. And I think AEW should mirror that as much as possible, except actually have the guy go down at the end.
Yeah.
And give back to the business, unlike Muto. So I think that you could, because actually that's the headline, that's the main event, right?
Yeah.
Like you can have great, you can put a big world title match on there, but the main event's going to be Sting's retirement match, and you can get a lot of traction on that. And I would hope, remember when WWE, when they had the John Cena 20th anniversary and Tony let a bunch of his guys show up and do quick little messages for John Cena. I would hope AEW or WWE would let some of the guys on Legends deals at least like have videos for Sting to say goodbye.
Agreed.
They did that for Impact with Impact's 20th anniversary. They let AJ Styles do a video. I don't see them doing that for AEW. I don't think they're wanting to help out AEW, and I don't think that WWE really ever valued Sting. I think they only brought him in to sell a couple of toys and for Triple H to get that win and close out the Attitude Era.
It was all about Vince burying WCW. That's what that was about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't want to see their current talent. I just want to just let Lex Luger and Ric Flair and some of the guys that are on Legends deals, Bret Hart, just show up and say goodbye. Just doesn't have to be at the show. Just let them say something, right? But again, bald assholes thing.
Well, I was going to say, because WWE doesn't do business like normal people because they're not normal. I mean, you look at all the stuff that happened with Muto in Japan and all these promotions coming together for his goodbye. And I agree with Dave. That's what Sting should be. I'd love to see footage from Impact. If WWE would let them footage from WCW, all of it. And of course, WWE is not going to let that happen, but
Japan's different.
Yeah, that's true, and it's a different business mindset there in Japan. Mm-hmm. And even like you said with the fans mindset's different earlier, which you said, JD. In Japan, they care about Japanese wrestling, and in Japanese wrestling, they're more willing to set aside differences and egos for big things. And,
on occasion,
not always, not always.
No.
But sometimes that wins out. But more often than not, you'll see, especially for a guy like Muto, that they can get away with doing stuff like that.
Well, it's like, Inoki and Baba hated each other, but they would do things, they would trade wrestlers on occasion. Imagine if they did that with WWE and AEW on occasion. Like, hey, these guys are stale. Let's just trade them.
No. Yeah, well, that's kind of what they did by not even trying to re-sign Edge and letting him go over there. So it's doing it in a different way and not in a business-friendly way.
Adam, I know you say this. Adam Copeland says he had a big money deal to stay at AEW. Are you saying that Edge is a liar?
You know what? Do I think the guy that lied all the way up until his Royal Rumble date return would lie? No, of course not. I don't think a good Canadian boy like Adam Copeland would lie. Of course not. Hey, Josiah, before we let you go, what are you looking forward to the most for Bound for Glory? I know you cover Impact for the Wrestling Observer. Are you going to be watching live, and what are you looking forward to most?
Yes, I will be watching live because I am recapping it live. And nice. You can look forward to having that recap in your email inbox shortly thereafter, Mike.
Because I'm going live on YouTube immediately after. But
I also have I'll also have my the Impact recap from tonight's already waiting you in your email inbox. So
I appreciate you.
No problem. So the show tonight was really good, and before tonight, I would say the thing I was looking forward to the most was Mike Bailey and Will Ospreay, just from a pure match quality perspective. But now that we're looking at, especially tonight, the promo Josh Alexander and Alex Shelley did on this show, it was like they set it up. Actually, it looked like this, like our screen right here. Scott D'Amore was where I was, and you have Josh Alexander where JD is, and Alex Shelley where Mike is, and they're in different parts of the building because they don't want physicality. Because Shelley took out Alexander a week or two ago, and they cut a very compelling promo on each other, and Alexander got the last word in saying, "You think that I think you're a transitional champion, but I think you are saying that because deep down you know you are." And Alex Shelley ran across the room and ran across the building, and they started brawling, and there was a pull apart. It was awesome. It was a really good angle. So I'm really looking forward to that match.
It's funny how that gets better booked after Jimmy Jacobs leaves.
Isn't it?
Yeah, and AEW is getting worse. Hey, Josiah, give me a prediction on that match because I have complicated thoughts on Alex Shelley versus Josh Alexander.
Oh man, this is one that's genuinely hard to pick because there's different reasons you can go for different guys, but I think Shelley's winning.
Yeah, me too.
It does not feel like it's time for Alexander to win it back, and him in a long chase against Alex Shelley could be really compelling stuff. And Shelley right now is killing it in this role, and he's getting that little edge to him now. He's not quite a heel, but you can see him leaning that direction, and it's very interesting to watch. It's very subtle. It's probably one of the better things they've done in a while, I'd have to say.
Absolutely. I'm really looking forward to the match. And Josiah, thank you. Just a reminder for everybody that you can just click the link right here in the comments, or you can go to my Twitter or JD's Twitter. We have the link right there on StreamYard. Click the link, join the show. If you don't want to be on video, just don't accept the video portion of it and just come in and have your say. Josiah, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks,
and I believe I'm going to do a call-in show on Saturday. So I hope you'll join us on the Mike and JD Show YouTube channel live after Bound for Glory.
I will do what I can, though I have to be up early on Sunday morning. So,
yes, that's
does
his main
work
job
for God.
Sundays.
Yes. He is my boss, so I had to be at church on Sunday mornings. But
I've read that book. He's harsh on. He's harsh sometimes. Sorry, Josiah.
All right, Josiah. Before JD gets you in trouble with your boss, we better let you go.
All right, bye guys.
All right, man, take care.
Before you let the next guest in, I brought this up and I had to read it. Hey, JD, remind Mike that LA Knight is one of the biggest stars in the game. Again, a year after he and I argued with Mike, saying he would be just a geek.
Yes, and that is my S-hole cousin Joe, my younger cousin Joe. So I am not a fan of Eli Drake or LA Knight, but I have to admit the guy got over. Like his entire character was geared towards being a WWE guy. Yeah. So he'd been working out this character for a long time, and he was practicing it for years in Impact. It got over in Impact, but he never really drew any money. But again, it was Impact. Nobody was really drawing money. He went to NWA. He got over there, but again, kind of small potatoes. And then when he got to WWE, I'm like, yeah, he's actually perfect for what they do, but he's like 40 years old now. I don't think they're ever going to give him a shot. And then really what it took was for Vince McMahon to get out of the way, Triple H to get fully behind him, and now look at the guy. He's exactly what they're looking for in a superstar. So what's up, Joe? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, let me talk to you.
Yeah, oh, fuck you.
No, I like how you say he got over in Impact. He got over in NWA, and then he went to NXT, and you said he'll always be a geek. That's what he is. He was a geek everywhere he went. Like, no, the guy, you could see perfectly he was exactly what a WWE superstar is. And we had that conversation a lot back when he was first starting in NXT. And I just love seeing the guy absolutely take off and be what he should be in WWE. But I was actually calling in because I have one guess on who might be the Impact Wrestling surprise. I think it would be terrible, but possible.
We got,
let's hear it.
Mandy Rose. She has openly talked about wanting to get back into wrestling. Impact has taken the chances on those former WWE women. She's got a big following on social media for reasons.
And
she was okay-ish. She got a lot better when she went to back to NXT to work on her wrestling. She was a lot better in NXT than she was on the main roster. A low bar to clear, but she still cleared it. So she's the one I could see being that Impact Wrestling surprise.
Yeah, I could see
You know what? I can actually see that too, because I don't think that she would be tailor-made for AEW,
No.
because she has to learn how to do cool moves and kickouts for that promotion. So she can't really go there. But with Impact, she can do a lot of skits and they can hide her weaknesses. They've done a very good job with Trinity. Trinity has been awesome. And then when the what were they called in WWE? The Inspiration. They were the Iconics in WWE, right? Yeah, they came over, and Impact was able to hide their weaknesses as well, and just accentuate their positives, which was some of their personality, which they were actually great. And then of course their looks and all that stuff too. And they had this really great entrance with the girl that's now with QT Marshall doing their music. I cannot remember her name off the top of my head.
Harley Cameron.
Harley Cameron, yeah. So they Impact does like people like that, and so that I absolutely think that could be a name that could be a surprise. I don't think that would be a Call Your Shot Gauntlet surprise. So for everybody that doesn't really watch Impact, Call Your Shot, although it is an intergender, they typically have 2 or 3 female wrestlers that typically mix up with the males already, and they join the Battle Royal. So you're looking at Kylan King, Jody Thread, Jordan Grace, talents like that. I think last year Tasha Steelz was also in it, but she was in and out pretty quick. Bully Ray did a gorilla press and threw her over the top rope. So I don't see her doing that, but yeah, I absolutely could. And then while she's working with Impact, she can still continue to sell videos of her fallopian tubes. I think that they'll let her do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Also, Peyton Royce is back. I don't know what she is. Cassie Lee, I think, on the Indies is back wrestling. She just did an intergender match, I believe, in Australia with Matt Cardona.
Oh, there you go.
So she, maybe another name. She's already got that relationship with Impact. I don't know if you'd want to build her up as a surprise. I do think she had a little bit of a following with Impact while she was there. Big personality. If they're wanting to load this show up, she's another name that they could easily use.
Yeah, she's out there. I think, is Lacey Evans cleared yet? Is she off her 90-day deal with WWE?
I don't believe so. I think she was released. Was that the mid-September time?
Okay.
So you could also look at some names that got released from NXT, because the NXT deals, unless they changed it within the last year, are 30 days. Because remember when Aleister Black got released, he was able to show up in AEW 30 days later because they forgot to update his deal to a main roster deal. So you could look at some NXT names. Again, I don't know if Mustafa Ali would have had his updated when he became more full-time NXT. Daba Kato, I don't know if you'd really want to build him up as a surprise, but he was an NXT guy, a big guy who could, maybe get a little bit of a reaction. I'm not sure, who else from NXT got released, but those guys who had that 30-day time frame, and I believe Saturday would be 31 days from the release.
Oh, okay, yeah. So maybe we'll get a big Daba Kato.
Yeah,
Daba Kato. Who were the other guy? What was the other guy's name that was a Daba Kato in NXT? I can't remember his name. Gosh, because I know they had. Paul Cruz he's still there. He didn't get released.
Yeah, Apollo Cruz is still there. Daba Kato was Commander Aziz with Apollo Cruz for a while, and then they sent him back to NXT and started calling him Daba Kato again.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I really don't see that one, but I think and Impact this. Last year they teased some stuff too, and it turns out it was just Bully. And the year before they teased some stuff too, and it turns out it was just the Kiss Demon. So I don't have high hopes. He was already on the Impact 1000 earlier, so I don't know that would even be a surprise. Honestly, I could see him in the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Doing a spot with Bully, but I just wouldn't see that being a surprise.
Have they played with fire by doing this now and doing this show in Chicago where there is like a semi expectation from idiots that it could be Punk? Like all it takes is a little bit of a CM Punk chant to catch fire.
Yeah, but they've had this show booked for a year.
Yeah, well, I was wondering, but
that's what I'm saying.
What's the amount of tickets they've sold after they said we have a a
They just said that today.
Okay, so I think if you do that and you sell 30-40% of your tickets after that, you really got to go big. But if you're already sold out or you're only moving a few hundred tickets, I don't see it as that big of a deal.
Well, here's my concern though: are you going to get an arena full of people think Punk going to show up and just chant CM Punk on camera, and you're going to be like, sorry, like, is that a possibility?
Yeah, I think it's possible, but I do think the CM Punk chants from crowds have died down quite a bit after he came back.
That's true.
I mean, you used to hear it almost every week in WWE, and then the moment he showed up in AEW, it completely stopped. Yeah.
Hey, Joe, before I let you go, before this turns into a brace for impact, what do you think about Vince being kind of shit canned from creative from Ari basically firing Vince off of creative, telling him to leave Triple H alone?
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't think he was as involved as a lot of people want to make it out to be. I think he was making some minor changes that just annoyed a few people, and Ari really wanted to empower Triple H to say, no, this is your game, because he sees the results. Which I kind of felt like the moment they made the merger was going to happen, because he fully leaned into Dana White when, he took over there. But at the end of the day, like, whether Vince was that involved or not, you can watch the shows and see it wasn't a Vince McMahon show all the time. You could see a few things that say, yeah, maybe Vince had some input there, but there was no constant rematches every week. There was no, 30 minutes between a guy coming out for the match and then the match actually starting. There was none of that. So you wouldn't see the full on Vince creative fingerprints there. But for morale, for how fans are viewing going into every week, I think it's the right move, and Triple H is the right guy to run it. So I'm glad they just made it official.
I think for Triple H, it was good to have Vince there to be the scapegoat. He was kind of like Vince Russo in TNA. Every bad idea that happened in TNA got blamed on Vince Russo, and that was great news for like Dutch Mantel and these other guys that were also putting out dog shit.
That's not going to go away though. Even when Vince was gone, when Vince was ousted last July, if somebody's seen something they didn't like from that July to December timeframe, they would still say, oh, that was clearly Vince. When Roman beat Cody at WrestleMania, the first thing Brian Alvarez said on Twitter is, well, I know who that reminds me of, or I know who that felt like. And it was like, no, they had that in the books since March. You could go back and look where it leaked in March that was going to happen because of the plan Triple H had post that show that you can see building up now. So whether Vince McMahon could be 6 feet in the ground and something bad will happen and people will say, well, I know where Triple H got that idea from. Like he's always going to have that boogeyman under the bed.
Well, I think that's good for him, though, because he takes none of the heat. But, hey, Joe, thank you for calling in, man. I got Illa in the green room, so I'm going to go ahead and let you go. And appreciate you. And I got a stat nerd Joe for later today. He sent me a text about a fun AEW stat that we're going to talk about later. But thanks, Joe. And we're going to welcome in our man, Godilla. Godilla is actually the voice behind A Game, or one of the voices behind A Game, one of the first voices. How you doing, Illa?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm good, man. How are you guys doing? Trying not to wake my wife up right now.
Oh, it's kind of late there in Boston or in Massachusetts. So, hey, man. So we got a lot of news happening in the world of wrestling. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, there's a couple things I wanted to ask. First of all, I wanted to shout out JD. The horror list was dope. I still got a few to get through or whatnot, but the horror movie list was real dope, man. There's a couple on there I was kind of ashamed that I forgot. I was kind of upset about that.
I like to go deep. I like to go deep with some of the picks. I don't like to go obvious.
Yeah. Hey, Illa,
dope.
before you get into wrestling topics, what was missing from JD's? You had some ideas in the chat. What was missing from JD's list that you want to add to that list?
I honestly, I wouldn't replace anything, man. I think everybody having their own style was dope. And I mean, what I eat don't make you shit. So you know what I'm saying, like, everybody having their own list is everybody having their own list is what's up. You know what I'm saying?
Write that down.
Yeah, hold
on. That's
a
Jay-Z line. That's a Jay-Z line. No.
Hey, hey, we would have never known the difference, bro. Yeah, we'd have never known the difference, bro. You should have just held on to it.
A couple of dorks.
Yeah. there's a couple things I wanted to say. First of all, happy birthday, Lucha. CM Punk is not coming to Impact, brother. But happy birthday. Um, Another thing I wanted to ask, I actually have a AEW question.
Yeah, let's do it.
Who's going to be Sting's last opponent? It's got to be Darby, right?
Yeah.
Like I tried to
Yeah,
bring
I
this
mean-
up, and I tried to bring this up in the chat. A lot of people didn't get behind. I think it's got to be Darby, right?
Yeah, it's his protege. It's the guy he's trying to. Sting has actually gone out of his way to make Darby into something. He brought Darby with him to Japan for the Muto match. Like he's really gone out of his way to try to like a father trying to make sure his son is set up, like to give him the business, like Vince McMahon and Vince McMahon Jr. Like Sting has gone out of his way to make sure Darby's okay, and I think the last thing to do is put over Darby.
All right, now follow up. If he does that, do you now put Darby in a position to win the world title? And
Yeah.
I'm a big Swerve fan, but that you got to go that route, right?
Well, Darby's a baby and Swerve's a heel, so there's your program.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think now that MJF is full blown babyface, and it looks like they're teasing, they're teasing MJF's next few programs, right? They're teasing, we got the Jay White match coming up. Following the Jay White match, it looks very clearly that we're going to go towards Kenny Omega. I think Kenny Omega is finally going to vanquish the Don Callis family at the next Full Gear is what it's called, right? In November.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to beat up on Takeshita there, get past that, and then we're probably looking at the December pay-per-view or January pay-per-view, whatever they're going to do, that being the Omega and MJF. And I don't think they're going to put the title back on Omega. I could be wrong about that, but it doesn't seem like that's the way that they're going. So I think after they get through that, we're going to start looking at Swerve, and eventually Swerve is going to have to be that heel champion. They got to build new stars. They got to get younger. They got to get fresher, right? They got to have their own identity. And I think that's the transition right there, because originally, your first few champions were some AEW originals, but guys that they were bringing in from other promotions. You had Jericho, you had Moxley was a champion for a little bit, then of course Omega. But like MJF is, I know he was in MLW, but he's homegrown, so that's like you got your homegrown guy there. And now Swerve, I know he came from WWE, but he was never really given a chance in WWE. I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm gonna stick my neck on the line. I'm gonna call Swerve a homegrown guy from here because he never really made it in WWE. You know what I mean?
Mike,
I feel like when
no, I'll say who's the first of the new MLW? Who's MLW World Champion?
That'd be Swerve.
Thank you. He's an MLW guy. Court Bauer discovered him.
Yeah, but 18 people watch that. I don't really call him an MLW guy. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yo,
so, I mean, if that's the case, then MJF is too, right? And so is Brian Pillman Jr. and so is Davey Boy Smith, right? All these
former
guys.
World Tag Team Champions, all of them.
Yeah.
I feel like you're a guy. You're the guy of the place where you get yourself over the most.
I agree.
And I'm saying, so if like MJF, he can always be a guy that was in MLW, but he's not an MLW guy. He's an AEW guy. And I'm saying, my other question, JD, are you going to both shows? Are you going to the Fallout and Bound for Glory?
So guess what asshole didn't buy his fucking tickets and thought he would just be able to walk up and buy a ticket because it wasn't hard last time. I didn't know they were going to sell out. Like, go now. I'm going to try to go on Saturday, but I'm really like, oh man, I misplayed this completely, and I wasn't going to say anything. But now
you get to see Josh
about it live. I can't go because I'm a dumbass and didn't buy my seater.
Well, the TV tapings are not sold out. Yeah, TV tapings are not sold out.
And you get to see Josh Ospreay and Gresham Shelley, so that's two dope matches.
I want to see that one more anyway. So Fridays are easier to go do stuff. Saturdays I gotta cross it with the boss and make sure that's okay. So I mean, like I'm gonna try to get out there on Saturday is the plan.
That's what's up. Well, I'm gonna get out of here, fellas, but I wanted to say a few things. One, all respect, all love. Two, Niners suck. Three, BFI.
Oh, let me get rid of this guy. Hold on, get off the show. Cut him. What an asshole!
You actually
is, right? No, he hung up. He hung up.
That's our guy.
Yeah. That's God Illa, man, and we always appreciate God Illa for lending us his track and letting us have it on our show, man. It's our signature theme, my favorite theme that we've ever had.
Yeah. I love that song. Like it just totally puts a different vibe on the show when we start it. So, where did we leave off? Because the show notes are now out the window.
Oh yeah. So we already talked about. So what do you think about Vince finally being out of creative, JD? Or did you know?
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
I know that's the word
that's where
going
I'm
on
at.
now, but I feel like we're playing a game of I feel like we're playing a game in the media, right? And Vince McMahon's I know he's 78 years old, but he's very good at winning these things in the long run.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I'm gonna wait 6 months to revisit this before I'm willing to put the spike in Vince McMahon, because a lot of people have written that evil bastard out before, and he always comes back.
Yeah, he always does. And that's kind of where I'm at. I do fully believe that he doesn't really have anything with creative at this point, but it's only a matter of time before he asserts himself back into it. The only way I'll believe that he's completely gone is if he sells all his shares and like moves to fucking Aruba or something like that.
Yeah, which is
And
possible.
like we just don't see the guy.
Well,
Yeah.
here's the thing, Mike. Here's the thing we got to realize. So Raw and SmackDown have stopped their year-over-year growth, right? Now they're way better than they were 2 years ago, but their year-over-year growth has slowed. So now that the bucking of the trends is over. I'm not going to say they're going to start contracting, because it will happen eventually, because that's just the cycles of wrestling. But when SmackDown leaves Fox and goes to USA Network and it starts doing sub Raw numbers, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, and that's gonna be the huge issue. And so, I mean, they're probably gonna try to dig him back up, right? So
I'm telling you, that's what's gonna happen.
yeah.
I'm telling you, it's gonna.
And
This is not the last we've heard of Vince McMahon. The man retired and came back after a weekend.
Yeah, they're gonna bring him back, and then Braun Strowman will be champion, and then it'll be just like it ever was. So there's been a debate online, and I'll be honest, JD, I don't really understand what the debate's all about. Roman Reigns is up for the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame this year. He's the top draw in pro wrestling right now. He is the biggest star for the biggest company in the hottest program that's really turned that company around and kind of really completely distance themselves from number one to number two, to where they're not even really all that close anymore in every imaginable metric that there is. But because he keeps getting chance after chance, and he finally did something with all the chances he got, that is kind of being held against him by some of the snobs.
Well, careful with the snob, because the guys who push that are like, we're the outliers on this network. You and I are kind of
I'm
like,
okay with that.
Yeah,
hey,
like that's what we do.
Yeah.
That I'm not a huge Roman fan, never have been, but how can you deny the results? Like,
yeah,
I kind of put Roman in the same category as I put Sting. The creative sucked for the majority of his run, right? And he did. How good would it have been in spite of him? Without, like, I think that we always Black Scorpion, right? We always go back to that. Like, that's the best they could have come up with for Sting. Who would have drawn in that? I think Roman's in a situation too where a little different, where like they couldn't fail, but at the same time, you look at where they are now and where they could have been. I don't know how you put that on Roman, and don't put it on Vince.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I feel like we're ready to blame Vince until it comes to Roman Reigns. And then it's like, well, fuck that guy. I don't buy that.
And I think the one of the big reasons why people don't like Roman, because at the time it was the internet fans and a lot of the hardcore audience that had really gotten behind Bryan Danielson, and they wanted Bryan Danielson to be crowned. But WWE said, no, we're pushing Roman. And because he pushed him against the grain of the hardcore fan, he was getting a lot of boos and stuff like that. But his merchandise was still very good. They were still doing pretty damn good at the box office. Ratings were dipping year over year, but then they pulled that one right up. So, and people making the excuse, well, they kept giving him chance after chance after chance. Well, isn't that what you do when you believe somebody? When you believe in someone, when you know what their future is going to be, it's like you stick with them, right? And just because he's the captain of a ship that's always winning, that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? Like, it's okay to be Terry Bradshaw, right? Like Terry Bradshaw, 4 Super Bowls, Hall of Fame quarterback for the Steelers. Maybe Lynn Swann, Franco Harris, and Mean Joe Green were better all around football players, but he was still Terry freaking Bradshaw, right? And he's still a Hall of Famer, and they didn't win those Super Bowls without him. It's kind of the same premise. It's like, if and John Muse is in the chat, and John, if you want to hop in the show, feel free. It says, if you think someone is a star, you try to make them one until the business doesn't allow you to do so. Absolutely, right? The business taking a turn for the worse wasn't really on Roman more so than it was on Vince. People kind of got soured on the throwing of the scripts and all the bad creative, not just the bad creative for him, but the bad creative just all throughout the show. And they finally got something that hit, and it's been going for a couple of years now, and they've been on fire. And I'm like, how could you deny his success? It's unbelievable.
I think what's done too is like when WWE was in their doldrums in like 2019, Roman wasn't the top guy at that time. That was Seth, and I hate to blame, I hate to put it on Bray Wyatt because the unfortunate end, but I mean, the Fiend didn't do any favors for anybody. Like people want to talk about how great the Fiend was. That was WWE's low point, man, in business in this generation. Like that's when you saw like these Dynamite pictures you see of the crowds. You saw a lot of Raws that looked like that in 2019, right? They were drawing a lot at that point. But Roman, again, the pandemic and his character change, it helped him, and I think they finally started strengths, right? And Vince dug his heels in, and I don't think you can blame the guy for that because he is drawing now. He is a massive star now. He does move stuff, and like, was he given chance after chance? Yes. And I'll be honest, man, I struggle to understand the Hall of Fame in and of itself when it comes to pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, and I argue with somebody in a Discord the other day. I said, Roman Reigns is a terrible athlete. And I'd be like, what? What? Roman Reigns, the man was one all-conference football player. Like, he was an NFL prospect. He's a really good athlete. They said, well, high-risk moves. I'm like, high-risk moves? We have this, somehow wrestling fans have equated tumbling into like the primary part of athleticism. Tumbling is an important skill to have. If you could do a backflip, there's a pretty good chance you're a good athlete. But I mean, like hip motion, foot explosiveness, strength in relation to body position, like these things all matter when determining athleticism. Nobody watches the Olympics and sees the gymnastics guys and says those are the greatest athletes on earth. Nobody says that. But when it comes to, and I love high flying stuff, don't get me wrong, but I think we disqualify the bigger guys sometimes. And Roman Reigns is a fantastic athlete. So I see these things and I'm like, man, I think it's a lot of the punk cabana thing too. The make sure Roman looks strong, right? I think CM Punk did a lot to turn people against Roman Reigns, especially in the hardcore. And again, some of the hardcore fans like to be, iconoclastic. We like to buck trends. I don't love the guy. I don't love his matches. But again, if the point of the Hall of Fame is draw and what you meant to business, I don't know how we can disqualify Roman. I really don't.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, what is the Hall of Fame? Because Dave will tell you it's not solely based on star ratings, because it can't be, because that's one person's subjective opinion. So you can absolutely take those into account, but that can't be exactly what it's all about, right? You have to take into account,
subjective to begin with.
Yeah. So and now people like to discount his drawing power because he's part of the big machine. But you can't. They're the biggest promotion out there. They sell the most tickets. He's his top star for them. And so if you're gonna put somebody higher because they have more star ratings, when in actuality drawing power is probably a bit more important, right? Because that's something that's like tangible, right? That is something that you can actually count, right, and prove. He's absolutely like head and shoulders above everybody else right now. And I know, and we're going to talk about Mystico, and I want to talk about Mystico. What do you think would have happened if Roman Reigns would have showed up in Houston and AEW and they advertised him for a day? They probably would have sold a lot of tickets.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, we can't. If Roman Reigns tomorrow decide I'm leaving WWE, I'm going to AEW, would everybody jump over? No. Would a lot of people watch? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The guy moves business. Like very few in that company can move tickets. Roman Reigns moves tickets. John Cena moves tickets.
Yeah.
And that's
Brock.
About like Rock. Yeah, but I mean, Brock.
Not
yeah,
Rock. Brock. Yeah.
Brock. Yeah. But that's like Cody. That's kind of it. And that's really all the way it's always been. Like you go to any era of wrestling, your top guys are the only ones that move tickets. Like nobody bought a ticket to see the Honky Tonk Man. Right?
Yeah.
Like
yeah. I mean, you enjoyed him while he was.
Uh-oh.
if you lose Hulk Hogan or Randy Savage, you're probably not coming to the show. And it looks like did my camera go out?
Yeah, your camera went out. I thought it might have been me for a minute. You froze.
No, it said my camera just went out. It's my my camera for. I'm gonna check my setting and hold on. I think I got it. It says start camera here.
Technical difficulties, everybody.
Okay. Yeah, technical difficulties. We're live, pal. We're live, pal. All right, a couple more topics before we head out, and then we're gonna go over to overtime. Adam Cole and Roddy Strong, and I'm gonna go ahead and throw Tony Storm in there. Man, this stuff is just brutal on AEW. It's gotten to where I'm just kind of fast forwarding all of it. The Tony Storm one was worse than the week before, and the Roddy and Adam Cole is just awful right now.
Roderick Strong and Adam Cole is the worst. I had a very docile conversation where we disagreed immensely with someone on Twitter. It didn't get personal. Yeah. Like, I kept it clean. And there are people that like this stuff, but watching it to me is excruciating. And I was anti, and then they won me over the summertime. Like, you know what? This is actually funny. We've completely jumped the shark with it.
Yeah.
The Tony stuff doesn't bother me as much as it bothers everybody else. Like, I can kind of compartmentalize that as just mid-card bullshit.
Well,
but I'm alone. I'm alone on this when it comes to our network.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Producer Rob went on a little bit of a rant, and some other folks from the Observer site, they really enjoy it. I like Toni Storm when she's doing her backstage interview. That's fine. The skits I can't do. I like, and my stance on RJ City. I don't think that guy's fucking funny at all. So and them two together, it's just like a bad actor and a bad actress having a poorly written and poorly executed skit. I'm just not interested. And now they just try to do a silent thing. I'm just like, yeah, you guys, you've lost me. I got to fast forward you now.
I think whoever pitched the idea to put RJ and Toni Storm together is a genius and deserves to get paid extra money. I think those two are perfect together. I think it works. I think it was brilliant thinking, whoever came up with that. If you don't like it, it's fine. But for me, it's just mid-card shit, I wish Toni Storm wrestled her matches, not like the character. Like, the character can be bullshit. I don't like when it affects the matches themselves. That I dislike. Now, I don't hate it. Now, let's talk about the Kingdom and Roderick Strong. That shit's awful. It's not funny. I'm hoping this was the last week of it because Adam Cole said, I'm finally done. I'm out of here. And he's leaving to have surgery anyway. So I'm hoping that what we saw last night was a bookend on all that, because MJF has dropped all the silly shit from him, which I think is good. I think he learned, right? I think he might have overcorrected last week, but this week was a good week. We saw a nice balance of what I think the MJF character is. This Kingdom thing, I don't want to watch Matt Taven masturbate his giraffe. I don't want to do it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Like, this is dumb.
Yeah, no, I'm totally over it. I hope that it's done. It looks like the Kingdom might be doing something with MJF here pretty soon. So, we'll see where that goes. But hey, guys, thank you to everybody that joined in on the chat and joined in calling into the show. I feel like this was pretty successful, so I think we might do it again. It's not going to be a weekly thing, but now that we know we have the capability, we're probably just going to bring you guys in a little bit more. But I want you guys to give us a big thumbs up on the channel and make sure that you're a subscriber. Throw down a comment, and also head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show, where we've got a lot of big things happening. I will be back this weekend with an exclusive Brace for Impact for the Patreon, and I'll also be back on our YouTube channel doing a live Bound for Glory post-fight show. And it looks like I'm going to be putting the link in the chat again, so you guys can tell me what you thought of Bound for Glory. And stay tuned for Overtime. Overtime's coming up this Monday, and we got something tasty for you. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite WCW gimmick pay-per-views. I'm going to go ahead and say it's my favorite WCW gimmick pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc. JD and I we did some research. We have a little bit of a list, and we're going to talk about our favorite moments from Halloween Havoc. And that's going to be on Overtime this week. And until next time, hold on, JD. I'm not going to mess it up this time.
All right.
And until next time, mahalo.
Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. Make no rain from the track when we unite and spit. This is an A-game, better bring your A-game. Competition starting to get thick, it's the click, so I hope you watch your A-game. Make no rain from the track when we...
Hello, Voices of Wrestling listener. Dave Ryan here. Have you ever wondered to yourself, How many hidden gems are hidden away inside the last years of World Championship Wrestling? Have you ever asked yourself how many tenuous gags can be made about the name Mike Enos? And have you ever thought about what it sounds like for two Irishmen to interpret a very chaotic company through its B-show? The answers to all this and more are just a click away. Check out Days of Thunder every second Thursday on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network.
Hello there, my name's Neil David and I'm the host of Eurograps Express, the podcast exclusively dedicated to the wrestling of Europe. If it's wrestling and it happens in Europe and it's good, we talk about it. Whether it's Rev Pro, Progress, WXW, Passion Pro, Pro Wrestling Chaos, Pro Wrestling North, we don't care, we talk about them all. If it's good and it's exciting, I want to share it with you. We're on the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Check us out on the feed. Check us out on Twitter at EuroGrapsEXP. And join us for chat about European wrestling and a little bit of chat about cheese. Hopefully see you there.